Good morning, Mr. Chairman, dear colleagues. Greetings from Helsinki. I am not able to speak about the national requirements. I am able to speak about the projects we are dealing with. At first, I will tell about the contents of the presentation. There are two parts: how we are dealing today and what is the development in the nearest future. That means this year and next year. And then I have been working as a project manager for City Rail Loop, that is a railway project in Helsinki. I have a few slides about that. And if there is a railway project in the Baltic countries, you should use the opportunity to develop the BIM, working with the BIMs in all these countries to develop the standards, the practice. Well, there is always somebody who uses the data after we have produced the data and after we have constructed the sites. Maybe it is after 20 or 30 years. It can be this son of my colleague architect. We met at the rock climbing. He is 0 years now, but he is a potential user of our data in the future. The organization of the city is very complex. We do a lot of planning in several places. And as I am an engineer, so I'm a purist when I talk about building information modeling, so it is not the same as city models. In city planning department, we do planning and we use data in many ways, but design and construction, they are taken care of by the different organizations. We have main products, not only city planning, but also transport planning. I am not going to talk about transport planning today. The main products in city planning, they are the detailed city plan. Usually it is, or typically it is a CAD file that has structured information. Before it was only a CAD file and all the information was, all the vital information was then transferred manually, but nowadays there is a structure and a lot of information goes automatically. Then we have master plans. We have several of them under work today. They are mapping for files and they include information about the area density, the land use, number of residents and shops. But what will be approved by the city council is only the layout, the graphical illustration in both these cases. So we have a lot of data, but only the visual content will be approved. Today and say for the last 5 years or so, we have had a system that was provided by Bentley. It works on project-wise environment. We call it common data environment. It is some kind of project bank. We have 300 active city planning projects at the moment going on. And there is a structured information. We use that also for the operation of the city planning department. We use reporting, and then we follow the budgeting, monitoring of the working hours and so on. But then there are also automatic connections to the national level registers. And then inside the city we have a municipal server that is for our civil servants. we get very fast information what's going on. But this is also because of the openness. This is also for the public. So this runs on internet, and I'm sorry it is in Finland, but for instance, if we take a look at which are the decisions. Oh, accidentally I found a very interesting plan. I will come to this later. But so, due to openness, this is important, and also what we are working at the moment, it is visual to the public. In planning, we are preparing these city plans. And then we have detailed master plans. But of course, we have a master plan revision for the whole of the city at the moment as well. But I wouldn't call this BIM. There are many ways to do work, and we have the stages of city planning here. We start from the left, and in city planning department we take care of the material until it goes to city council. After that there are other people taking care. And of course all the work is done with the computers, but the way of working is pretty old. So we transfer information manually to many places and many times. So there's a lot of databases, there is a lot of information, but it requires manual stages. But the vision that is very close is semi-automatic. So here we have that project-wise environment that I described here. Sorry. And the work in the city will be based on that, and we can also change information through the application programming interface to different authorities and also to public. So this is a good way of working, but of course it is not BIM. But this is BIM. So this is an illustration that I made for this seminar of our city rail, of one part of our city rail loop plan. So the city plan is very simple. It's two-dimensional CAD drawing. We have reservations. For instance, here is the present tunnel, and then there will be a new tunnel because there is a collision in here. We have rough models of existing utility tunnels. In this there are 3, and this is an underground garage that is under construction now. We made that model a few years ago when the city plan was prepared there. And then we have this railway plan. There are some parts. So there is a collision in here. It is not a collision, we just combine the functions, and that must be done precisely. And this is BIM. But there are only a few city planning projects where we use BIM, full BIM at the moment. The illustrations that we produce normally, they don't include very much information. These are done for the decision making. They show what is the layout of the city plan, which are the functions. And for instance here we have a large passenger harbor. this area is under development now, and this is an old storage and harbor area that will be developed later, but in the nearest future. So this is also a problem. We have great projects, but how to update? We have already constructed, say, 20 new buildings in this area. How to update that data to the city information? Of course, these are the typical. This is the typical uses of BIM. So the bridge above, it has been open for 4 years now. There was a rehearsal of using BIM in the construction, but now later this year they will open the lower bridge. That is a grandfather's bridge, and that is the first large bridge with the full BIM from beginning to the end. And of course, the major renovation projects in the buildings that are owned by the city, they are done by the BIM. And the renovation of Olympic Stadium and extension of the spaces will start in a few months. I hope there are new room for basketball also. And then there is developing going on. We have a 2-year project now. For me, the most important part is here. At the moment we are here. So very soon we are going to have a new city model in city GML format. But as you know, it is only the visual appearance of the city that is important. We must combine a lot of information there. So the platform must be multi-purpose. So we can join cadastre and data about the population and jobs and traffic and so on there. So the work is going on at the moment. There are pilots. I don't know which they will be, but I will hear about them very soon. And the work packages that are included in this development, so they can be divided in these 6 boxes. There is nothing new in these. We have all noticed these lines before. It is only how do we combine these into one format so that we don't have separate projects, but we have them together supporting the functions of the city. Here is our normal everyday activities. But as you can see, this city model planning work. So at the moment we have an ending railway station in Helsinki, and then we have another existing station here, and all the railway traffic to Helsinki goes through these. We have designed the loop with 3 new underground stations. Here at the Pasila area, the construction is going on at the moment. A few days ago was that, but here the stations will be underground and not visible. So we have done a lot of information modeling, for instance, for the entrances. And then we have done a lot of simulations, for instance, for passenger and pedestrian analysis. Initial data model, that is the city model of today. We have all these in computers, in files. They are in several sources. a lot of information that we have combined for this project into one database. So normally we have a lot of databases in use, but for everyday practice we have to simplify it. This is the existing metro, existing underground spaces here, sewage tunnels, cables, and so on. We have this empty plot here for the railway station. During the design, we have made, well, models of temporary structures also. This is the empty plot that I showed a moment ago. We have to decide in advance what is the structure, and then we have to decide in which stages we are going to construct it. So there is a temporary tram bridge. And also we have one major overground bridge. It's here. Then we have several underground bridges in the tunnels. The space that is needed for ventilation, smoke exhausters, and that kind of technique, it's immense. And after all this modeling, the combination model, it is very heavy, it is large, it's too complicated. That is a problem. If you have a large project, then you have too much information for a single person. So BIM gives very good support to that. You can use only that information that you need. Of course, the simulations, there's a lot of them. For instance, in Finland, it can easily be in Helsinki -20 or -25 degrees outside. So the cold air goes to tunnel and the train pushes it forward. So it's 2 kilometers when the tunnel will be freezing, the tunnel walls. But in the middle of this 6 kilometer long tunnel, it will always be in the plus degrees. So I already showed the pedestrian simulation, but there are also, if there is an emergency in a train, so for instance here in the red train, the passengers from the station, they are safe in 3 minutes, and in 10 minutes the whole station is empty. So there is a rescue and service tunnel besides the railway tunnels, and the entrances can also be for rescue purposes. This is the most important slide for me, because the population and the number of jobs in the Helsinki region, it is increasing. So which will be the number of passengers in the trains that are red and in the metro lines that are the yellow. There are also, describes only the public transport. There are only tram lines and then the bus lines here. But as you see, railways are the most important ways for public transport. About the simulations more, so if there is a fire in a train, in a tunnel that is at the station, what happens to the smoke? And when we are below existing buildings, So what is the sound to the structures during the operation of the trains? What is the dimensioning of the insulation boards below the tracks? And then many other aspects. We have a design and planning office at the center of Helsinki, but unfortunately we have to move because they are starting to construct a new museum. And the city plan that I showed you accidentally in the beginning is the city plan for this museum that will replace these operations. So this building will be there also in the future, but the museum will be underground here, and these operations will be changed for the museum operations. We are 2 project managers. I have been in charge of city planning, and my colleague, Mr. Jussi Lindberg, he has been in charge of railway engineering. So if there is a railway project in the Baltic countries in the nearest future, so you can contact Mr. Lindberg for advice. And there has been a lot of companies and maximum 300 people involved in this planning and design. And there are tens of different computer programs that have been used for building information modeling and simulations. So for sure we need to have open data, we have to have open data exchange formats, and the most important of all, we have to have open works to work together to change information. Thank you for your attention.